So, welcome back to the class of tribology, right? So, if we remember, we were dealing related to what topic? Can anyone let me know in the last class? Let me see how much you remember. What we were dealing in the last class? At least you should speak and let me know the topic on which we were discussing. Or else, what's the use if only I do say and you people just hear? What was the topic on which we were discussing? Let me know at least the title. Kindly respond, please. We were dealing with wear debris analysis. Hope you remember we dealt what do you mean by debris, how we do the analysis part to overcome the debris analysis. So we dealt related to those aspects, right? So if you come back to the wear debris analysis, I just explain what you mean by wear debris and what are the situations in which the wear debris analysis could be done. Mainly, we have three situations: condition-based monitoring, predictive, and fault detection. In these cases, the debris analysis has proven to be a boon to overcome the different type of waves which come across, right? So then we dealt about exactly how the analysis could be done. So where the wave comes across, we will detach that worn surface subject to some characteristic techniques like SEM, yeah, XRD, yeah, TEM, whatever. Then identify and analyze how the worn surface looks like, and then we'll map up with respect to that particular wear, what we have studied before. We have different sections of wear, the types of wear which come across, how it could be overcome, that we have studied. So related to those aspects, you will be understanding the concept of debris analysis. So this we did up in the last class. And also we dealt one more measuring technique. Apart from XRD SCM, we studied what you mean by pedography. So what all the components a pedography analyzer has in it, how it could be helpful in overcoming the or analyzing the debris which come across during sliding or rolling of any mechanical component. Okay, so this was about the wear debris analysis. Then we discussed different type of wear testing methods which are available, right? Specifically with respect to sliding we went on, and then we also spoke about different methods related to jet impingement, recirculating loop test, centrifugal, and drilling arm method. So these methods also we discussed. So we have covered the wear debris analysis and its measuring methods. And before that, we had some concept called as delamination theory. I told you that I'll be doing this once we complete the wear debris analysis, because we were in flow of understanding what you mean by wear analysis, right? How it could be overcome. So I thought, let me cover the wear debris analysis, which is associated to it, and measuring methods, and then let us come back to delamination wear. So today now we will be speaking about what is the importance of understanding and delamination wear. So everyone knows a wear process results in loss of an material across the surface of contact where the rolling or sliding coming into picture, right? So due to this process, thin sheets will be drawn out due to the sliding motion, which is nothing but our wear. And this type of mechanism of delamination can come into picture in four categories. So first one is plastic deformation of the surface. So there'll be an plastic deformation across the contact of the surface. So that is one type of delamination wear which can come across. The second one is we'll go in this depth one by one. Okay, first you identify which are the clause in which the delamination wear comes into picture. So first one is the plastic deformation which cannot get back its shape at all, because it is a plastic type of deformation which is coming across during the contact of the surface. The second one is the cracks are nucleated below the surface. So you have two mechanical components which could be sliding or rolling. So across this contact surface, if any crack is being initiated, so if a delamination has to occur, it has to get nucleated below the surface in which the surface is contact. So this is a surface and this is a surface. So one could be a hard material, another one could be a soft material. So if you come across behind the surface some type of cracks, then this results in the formation of delamination wear. So this gets nucleated further and the enhancement of the crack propagation comes into picture. Right? So the crack propagation will result due to the nucleation of the cracks and joining with neighboring one. So if you have cracks behind the surface of contact and this gets propagated and it gets nucleated and connected with the neighboring one, and hence the crack penetrates, it gets prolonged and it results in formation of a huge amount of delamination. And once this thin layers are being separated, right, what happens is it results in the formation of the laminates, which are nothing but the accumulation of the wear debris. So this results once the thin film of sheets gets separated across the contact surface. This will be called as a laminates, which will be the accumulation of n number of wear debris into it. So this is the 4 sections in which the delamination wear comes into. The first one is it becomes a plastic deformation. Then it results in the formation of crack. The crack gets penetrated, it gets propagated, it connects to the neighboring one. And finally, it results in the formation of laminates. It gets separated from the surface. And these laminates will be the combination of all type of wear debris accumulation into it. So wear debris we have studied already in the previous class. So I told you, let me connect to wear debris, then come back to the delamination wear. So these are the 4 verticals which come across in a delamination wear concept. Okay, so this is just a small background prerequisite to understand what we mean exactly related to delamination. And related to this concept of delamination, it was being theorized by a person, Nam P. Shaw, at MIT in the year 1973. Okay, and sometimes it was also being called as or referred to be as surface fatigue wear. You know what you mean by fatigue wear? Fatigue wear was associated with the word surface because this wear laminated out across the surface at contact, and hence you call that to be as surface fatigue wear. So this is an alternative name which was referred some years before, right? So the other name for delamination wear is also called as surface fatigue wear. It was theorized by the person Nam P. Shaw at MIT in 1973. Right? This was the time where it was discovered related to delamination theory. And this theory mainly consists of 3 stages. So one is the voids which form near the surface. So voids are nothing but the space or the gap which has been created across the contact surface. So this is the initial stage for the delamination to come across. So the first stage is caused due to the voids which come across the surface in contact. Second one is these voids will grow as cracks, right? And it goes in the direction parallel to the surface in which the sliding or rolling is being taking place. So first, initiation of the voids. Second one is the growth of the voids in direction parallel to the surface at which the contact is coming into picture. And lastly, the third stage is detachment as in long thin wear particle. Long thin wear particle is nothing but the lamination which has been formed due to wear. What we call it as delamination. Delamination because that lamination is getting detached from the contact surface. Even though the material is from the parent material, it gets detached due to the wear. So this is nothing but called as long thin wear particles. So this happens when the crack penetrates, propagates, connects to the neighboring particle and form a continuous wire like thin structure, and it gets detached. right? So this is a critical stage where it totally breaks from the surface across the contact. So these are the three stages which come across in delamination theory associated to our wear. When you have two mechanical components which are revolving, which are rolling, yeah, sliding. This usually happens when you have one hard material and one soft material, because when it starts sliding, yeah, rolling, the asperities from the hard material flow into the soft material, and this results in the creation of the wear, and the stage of the wear enhances until it gets detached from the parent material in the form of a lamination, and hence it is called as delamination theory. So it consists of three stages. And initiation of the void is very important. You have to see that the voids are usually formed where at the location of inclusions or the imperfections which is coming across, right? Usually these inclusions or imperfections gets initiated where you have rubbing against two mechanical components. It can come across in other surface also. Mainly depends at the contact where it has sliding, yeah, rolling effect. So wherever you get imperfections at that place, it results in the initiation of formation of voids or the air gaps. Okay. So this is the initiation of the voids. You know now when the theory was being established, which are the main stages, and how exactly it performs. I've just given a background of it. So with that, we'll go step by step. Okay. So mainly for the delamination to occur, there should be something, this location which is coming into picture during sliding, yeah, rolling. So why this dislocations usually come into? So the dislocations in the metal which are there usually pile up in the form of impurities. Okay, so these impurities will help in creating the voids to grow. So if you have any type of dislocation due to the applied load across the contact area, and if it gets piled up by time to time, so it results in the formation of impurities. So these impurities will help in creating the voids to grow. Okay, so this happens due to the existence of dislocation depending upon the type of load, yeah, pressure which is there across the contact area, right? So this is the first thing what you have to keep in mind. Secondly is the metal impurities are also the key important factors. So if the metals what you are using, it has some impurities in it. Okay, so it results in the formation of nucleation of these voids. Means it is helping you supporting the voids to grow by means of nucleation process. So this helps in inclusion and results in the formation of wear. So one thing is mainly due to dislocations, which results in creating impurities and causing voids. The other thing is the impurities which is present in the metal by itself will make for the growth of voids by means of nucleation growth, and finally ends up with that of an laminated wear. So this is the second thing. The third one is, suppose if a crack is been coming into picture at the contact area due to unbearable load or pressure, so this also helps in growing the void. Okay, but it will not initially go to the surface. If you have any crack, it helps in growing the void, but it will not initiate initially to grow to the surface, because these cracks are generated due to trilateral compressive state of stress at the contact area. And as a result, the stress which has been induced is due to the strain at plastic level, not at the elastic limit. And this is purely affected across the surface only. And as a result, when you get a crack, you can get a crack, I told you, behind the surface of contact, right? And you can get the crack across the contact of the surface. So across the contact of the surface is due to the plastic strain which has been induced. So it will be least bothered with that of the crack which is there in the backside of the surface, and hence this crack will help to grow the void, and it will not initially help to affect the surface. So this is at the beginning level. So after that, the growth of the crack takes place. So for the growth of the crack to take place, you require the stress in reversal direction. You need the stress in reversal direction, then only the crack can penetrate and grow for an lengthier range, right? So this could be possible only if the reversal stresses are provided by the asperities. So this asperities usually comes into picture when you have different mating elements. So one of the harder metal, another one of the softer metal. So the asperities from the hard material will penetrate to the soft material, and it provides the required stress in the reverse direction. So due to that reverse direction stress, it results in the penetration or the growth of the crack. Okay, so as a result, the asperity slides over the surface continuously, and it makes the material facing the asperities result in alternate shear stress. So as the alternate shear stress increases, the growth of the crack also increases. How the growth of the crack will be, in which direction? It will be parallel to the surface. Okay, so due to the parallel growth of the crack, what happens is the wear particles formed by this wear, this type of wear will be very long and thin. So due to the crack propagation, the wear particles will be formed in the direction across the surface of contact, and it will be of very long length and very thin in dimension. Okay, so this is how the growth of the crack helps in creating the wear particle for a longer length with a smaller dimension, right? You can even consider like a one-dimensional element or whatsoever, because it will be formed in very thin film kind of thing. Okay, so this is just the concept of delamination theory. How does it happen? And later we need to go for summarization. Usually they can ask you, what do you mean by delamination theory? Who proposed the theory and when? What are the main mechanism behind it? So you will explain the mechanisms with respect to 3 stages. And sometimes they can ask you, define the delamination theory with the mechanism and summarize the theory. So then you should be able to summarize each and every point. For that, we should go on with the summarization part. So now I hope the concept of delamination theory is clear. Any doubts? Hello?
No,
okay. Is that Siddharth who responded me right now?
No, maybe.
Okay, I think I logged out once my session. So if I don't have the access to download the video, the very next person who joined, who was the first person who joined? I think that access will be going to that person. In that case, I need the downloaded recorded video. If I'm not able to download, I'll just update you related to that. So before the class complete, let me know who is the person who logged in first. So now let us start up with the summarization of the theory. So I told you we are now understanding the concept of delamination theory when you have 2 sliding surface in contact. So we summarize from that aspect. So when 2 sliding surface interact, what happens is the interacting components could be soft or harder. So if one is of softer material and another one is of harder material, the asperities of the softer surface will get flattened and it gets fractured by repeated loading. It will not penetrate to harder material. Only the asperities from harder material will penetrate to softer material. But the asperities or the rough surface which is present across the softer material will get flattened due to penetration of the asperities from the harder material, and it results in the formation of fractured part across the contact area where you get continuous repeated loading. So it results in the formation of small wear particles. So this is associated with respect to the softer surface. So this is one concept what you have to keep in mind when rolling takes place across the two components, and if the asperities are affected on the softer surface, how it is due to flattening and fracturing by repeated loading. So the amount of wear particles what you get will be of very small structure. Okay, it could be in microns and sometimes you can get in nanos also. Next is harder particles are also removed but at slowest rates. Okay, so you will be having soft material as well as hard material for mechanical components. So even it is not like only the softer material will be removed. Even the hard particles can also be removed, but it will be removed at a very slow rate. Why? Because the relatively smooth surface is generated initially when these asperities are deformed. So the asperities across the surface will deform. There will be some change in the dimension of an object, right, due to this repeated loading. And as a result, the hard particles will be removed at a very slow speed. Next summarization concept is the surface traction exerted by the hard asperities at the contact point include incremental plastic deformation. So this is a thing when the asperities comes from the harder material to that of the softer material. And due to the flowing of these asperities to the soft material, the surface traction across the contact will be enhanced by the harder asperities, which comes from harder material across the contact. So this contact induces in causing an incremented way of plastic deformation. So as the asperities comes more and more from the harder material, the plastic deformation which has been caused across the contact will get incremented from time to time. So it depends upon the type of loading you are having, whether it is continuous loading, your cyclic loading, repeated loading whatsoever. So based on that, the plastic deformation gets incremented. So this is the thing what you have to understand. So next is, as the subsurface deformation continues, so this is the initiation of formation of the crack, right? So once this crack has been started, and if still the deformation means the plastic deformation continues. Okay, so the word incremental is being used. That means to say that once the plastic deformation is caused, it gets incremented time to time. So due to continuous deformation across the surface, what happens is the crack which is generated will result in nucleation of the cracks. And this nucleation of the crack takes place under the surface. So if you have two components which is sliding against each other, so the nucleation of the crack takes place under the surface, not exactly across the contact area. Okay, this thing you have to be very clear. So this is the thing what happens. So then it cannot occur near the surface. It can occur only under the surface, because at near the surface, due to plastic deformation, you will be having a triaxial state of compressive loading. So due to triaxial state of compressive loading, the crack can nucleate below the surface and not across the surface of contact. So you have to be able to tell the reason why it is doing below the surface and not across the contact. So next, one more summarization is, if once the cracks are present and if further loading increases, means the incremental deformation, it causes to extend and propagate. I have told you this already. And due to this propagation, it helps in joining the neighboring cracks. It may happen that you have two mechanical components which is sliding against each other. So there might be some crack penetration at the starting of the contact area, and there might be a second crack which has been formed across the end of the contact area. So if these two are the part of the contact area for the mechanical component, you might have one at here and one at the end. But if the crack gets penetrated, due to continuous deformation, then it results in joining the crack from this point to that of this point. So that is nothing but formation of an laminated wear particle, which will be later detachable. So this helps for growing of the crack from one point to that of the other point. So this happens due to the penetration of the crack from one end to the other across the contact. And this direction of the crack will be parallel to the direction in which the component has been sliding, right? So the crack tend to propagate parallel to the surface at a depth governed by the material properties. So what is the depth of the material in which the crack has been initiated? It depends upon the material property. Some materials might be hard, very hard, mediumly hard, or a soft material. So based on whether it is a soft material, I think more amount of material could be weared out, and it might help in getting easily the crack propagated for a little bit more thin film, right? But if it is an harder material, then a very minor amount of wear particles might have been removed in the form of an laminate. Okay, so it mainly depends upon the property of the materials. What is the depth of the material governed in the form of crack propagation? And second thing is also it depends upon the state of loading, how it has been loaded. Is it cyclic loading or continuous loading? Is it a huge amount of load which is not bearable, or it is an load within which the material has the capacity to withstand? So all these things plays a vital role in the propagation of the crack which has been initiated. So this is how the crack gets penetrated. So when the crack is penetrated and finally the crack gets sheared to the surface, once it gets sheared to the surface, a long and thin wear sheet will be formed, which is nothing but the delaminate. A long and thin wear sheet will be detached from the contact surface, right? So this is nothing but the sheets of delaminate. And the thickness of the wear sheet is usually determined by the location where the subsurface crack growth happens. So based on the subsurface crack growth, you can determine the thickness of the wear sheet, how it is wearing. So there are many wear analysis which has been done right from using characterization techniques and from wear aspects and also the material properties, right? Similarly, it will fall into the second category where one will dig and understand the morphology of the material to understand the location where exactly the subsurface crack growth has started. So from that surface, if you measure the final laminate which has been out, you will determine the thickness of the wear sheet what you are getting. And you can analyze for what type of load and for what type of material, which is the thickness of the wear sheet what you are obtaining, how we can enhance or reduce the wear sheet as per the requirement. So this all again comes into wear debris analysis with related to the delaminates. So this is how you have to summarize the things related to delamination theory. And finally, this will be governed by the normal and tangential loads across the surface. You know that you'll be having the normal as well as the tangential loads across the contact area. So the thickness of the wear will also be governed by these type of loads across the surface. And next thing, what finally you have to say that the laminates what you get also depends upon the wear rate, right? So the wear rate is nothing but the controlled aspect, how the nucleation rate has been increasing or decreasing, or it is in the controlled manner. So the wear rate is usually controlled by the crack nucleation rate. What is the rate at which the nucleation of the crack is taking or coming into the picture? So nucleation is nothing but which helps in growing the crack or penetrating the crack or propagating the crack further. So that will tell you the nucleation rate. So it mainly depends on the nucleation rate. Okay, so if you want to tell the wear rate for a particular material, you should see that how the nucleation rate is. If the nucleation rate is slow, then the wear rate also will be slow. If the nucleation rate is quick for the given mechanical components, then the wear rate subjected to that mechanical component also will be high. So both will be going hand in hand. Okay, but still it could be controlled. Okay, so the wear rate can be controlled by the nucleation rate. So you should see that the nucleation rate is being reduced. So this can happen if you have selected the best material so that the amount of nucleation will be reduced. If one side you have a soft material and other side you have a very hard material, then the nucleation rate will be easily increased, enhanced, the crack gets propagated, and even the wear rate will be high. But instead of using a soft material, if you use a minimum hard material in comparison to a stronger one, then the amount of wear which comes into picture will be reduced, because the nucleation rate will not be so high, as the other component is also having some resistance with respect to the properties, so that the amount of crack which has been penetrated will be reduced as the nucleation rate is also reduced. So this is how the wear rate can be controlled, yeah, slowed. So these are the concepts related to the delamination theory. And if they ask you to summarize about the delamination theory, you have to explain all these parameters. I hope the delamination and the summarization of it has been clear, guys. Are you people awake?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So wear debris analysis we have done already. And wear testing methods are done. And we were supposed to discuss about the wear of metals and non-metals as we did in friction, which come across in metals and non-metals. Similarly, we have to speak few things related to wear of metals and non-metals. So you know what do you mean by metals and you know what you mean by wear. So now we are associating the word wear to our metals. And all metals and its alloys which are clean usually have high adhesion across the contact. So when you have a very high adhesion across the contact, obviously the friction and the wear will be high. So usually the metal to metal you have strong adhesion. So when you have a strong adhesion and you force these metals to slide against each other, obviously the friction and the wear rate will be high. So this is the first concept what you have to keep it in mind when you are speaking with respect to wear. Adhesion is higher, that shows friction, and wear is also at higher rate. Second thing is wear rate is also high, right? When the wear rate is high, the vacuum can be very high. So what is the thing is the given mechanical component could be kept in an closed environment in vacuum chambered, or it could be subjected to an open atmosphere. Suppose if the given mechanical component is affected by the corrosion of the external environment, so you keep the component within an inert atmosphere in a vacuum chamber. In that case also the wear rate enhances if you keep that in a vacuum chamber. So that is the second concept what you have to understand. And third thing is when the metals are being formed, yeah, synthesized, and if you develop the metals into some mechanical components, and during developing, if any contamination come across, then it results in the formation of some chemical films across the surface. Okay, so this chemical films across the surface can also act as an impurity and result in causing wear and friction. So always you should see that the metals which are using are free from contamination, so that there will be no chemical films formed across the contact surface where it wants to slide or roll, so that the wear could be reduced. Right? And next thing is if adhesion among two components has been reduced, then it results in reduction of friction and wear. So you should always select the components in such a way that if you use this two same mating element, then obviously adhesion will be more. So slightly go with the metal combination in such a way that it helps in reducing the adhesiveness between the two components. In that case, it helps in resulting the reduced friction and wear. Okay, so this concept, always when you think about metals, you should see that you have selected the metals which has minimum adhesion to it, so that the friction and wear could be reduced or kept in controlled manner. So next concept what you have to understand is, in metal to metal wear test, what happens? You will be having high stresses and it can result in galling and seizure, okay, after each cycle. So what do you mean by galling? So galling, you can just see a diagram here where you have a rough surface which is formed due to some amount of continuous cyclic loading, and this is due to the high stress which is formed when you have metal to metal contact. So it can result in galling and also seizure. So seizure is nothing but some sudden accidental thing, the scar which comes across the surface of the contact area, so which happens suddenly. So always when you have metal to metal, either sliding or rolling, when you test for wear, so wear test usually shows that the surface across the contact is at higher stress, and due to stress the type of wear you get is due to either galling or scissor, and even this happens for a single cycle of loading, right? And as a result you have to determine what is the galling stress exactly. Okay, so there are some specimens which are being tested to see that what are the stress levels which occur related to galling. So there is no hard and fast rule that you have to go and understand which is the equipment which is used to do this type of testing. Only thing, if they ask you to describe about wear associated with metals, you should be able to write in bullets how the wear comes into picture in case of metals and how it could be overcome. Your suggestions and insights. Usually galling appears in the form of an groove or an scar mark. Okay, so that will help you in developing the galling stresses and measure what exactly is the wear resistance for the given material. So every material cannot have the same wear resistance, right? So it depends upon the properties of the material. If the material is too hard, then it can have a good value of wear resistance. So it shows a good measure of the galling stress in it. So this could be measured accordingly, right? So this is just a brief concept related to how wear is associated with metals. So now I've just extracted a small table. Okay, so wear coefficients for different metal pairs are analyzed for a normal load of 20 newtons. Okay, and this is the load which has been applied, and here the mechanical components are sliding at a velocity of 1.8 meter per second. So this was the data gathered by Archer in the year very long before 1953. So what you have to observe here is two things. What is the wear coefficient and the viscous hardness. And here I've given you the metal pair. So the mechanical components here are paired with the same metals. So cadmium with cadmium, zinc with zinc, copper with copper, platinum with platinum, mild steel with mild steel, stainless steel with stainless steel. So in this thing, you can observe what is the wear coefficient when you have the same mating elements. Same thing when it was having different mating elements like cadmium with mild steel, yeah, copper with mild steel, yeah, platinum with mild steel, yeah, mild steel with copper, yeah, platinum with silver. You can see that the wear coefficient, which is represented by the letter small k, has drastically reduced. That means to say that the mating elements of same metal usually have, yeah, possess more wear coefficient than that of other mating components. So to show you, realize the importance of mating with the same components and mating with the other components, I have just listed out the values. And similarly, When you have two mechanical components with same mating element and different mating elements, even the hardness value by Vickers hardness tester was measured by Archad, and he has listed out the values. What is the hardness number? So this provides you an comparative analysis when and how to use same metal pair and when to use different mating metal pairs. So related to this data, you have to keep something in mind. So the Galling data of the wear shows that the identical metal pairs, oh yeah, this is done already. So now, what you have to understand is considerable improvement in wear resistance can be achieved when dissimilar metals are paired. So I'm speaking now with respect to the table. Okay, you see here the first point. When you have dissimilar metals are paired, you can see an improvement in the wear resistance, right? But when you have changing surface characteristics, such as by adding a coating or by surface treatment also, wear resistance can be improved. So when you have different mating elements, the wear resistance has been enhanced because the wear coefficient here is low. That shows that the wear resistance for this particular combination is higher. So this is one thing. Second thing, even though if you use the same components, same mating components, also the wear resistance could be increased. For that, what you have to do is you should use a coating. Means you should add a coating across the surface so that it helps in improving the wear resistance. So this is the second concept what you have to keep in mind if you are using same mating elements. In all the applications, it will not be possible to use different mating elements. Sometimes the constraints and the requirement for the application will be in such a way that you are forced to use with the same mating elements. At that time, you should see that which is the coating layer which could be used to overcome the wear, in the sense to improve the wear resistance. Okay, so this is a thing what you have to understand. Next is interference temperature. Okay, so the interference temperature which is produced at the asparity contacts during sliding of metallic pairs under unlubricated condition. So this results in thermal oxidation leading to oxide film formation. So this is the main thing which happens usually, a big drawback. You know that in wear the asperites move from harder material to softer material. So across the contact, if there is a large amount of asperites moving, and the temperature at that point will be high. Okay, so due to that high temperature and the movement of asperities and resulting in plastic deformation, it results in formation of thermal oxidation. So due to that thermal oxidation, it forms an oxide film formation across the contact surface. So once the oxidation film is formed, it can prevent severe type of wear. So this is one thing which will be feasible, what you have to understand. Okay, and usually to overcome a high amount of temperature, we usually use up with lubricants, right? So this happens in case of unlubricant condition. So if you are using lubricant, then this temperature aspect will not come into picture. So under unlubricant condition, this oxidation film can prevent the severe wear. And next few points is at low ambient temperature what happens, and at higher ambient temperature what happens. So at low ambient temperature, oxidation occurs at asparity contact from frictional heating, right? So oxidation, how it happens? Mainly due to the contact of the asperites. So this asperite contacts comes into picture due to the heat generated by the frictional aspect, right? But if at high temperature, if oxidation happens, it is due to the entire surface which occurs and affects by the wear. So at low temperature, at low ambient temperature, the oxidation which occurs is due to frictional heating. And at high temperature, the oxidation which occurs at the entire surface is due to the effect of wear. So this is what you have to understand related to wear of metals. Okay, so next is, there is a small diagram what I want to explain you related to wear of metals. So here in the wear of metals, you should understand basically the operating conditions. So the effect of operating conditions in different regions, you can see the diagram here. So as we have the phase diagram to change of phase from orthorhombic to tetragonal, similarly we have a wear map for a particular material of soft carbon steel, right? So here we have drawn a graph taking normalized pressure along our y-axis. Okay, so this is the normalized pressure which is coming across due to sliding motion, and the sliding speed with which it is sliding is taken along the x-axis, right? So it is given in terms of meter per second. So we are gathering the data here for an example of soft carbon steel. Okay, so here let us now understand the operating condition with respect to the graph. So here we can see the various regimes of mechanical and corrosive wear which comes into picture due to rubbing of the materials, right? So here we are taking rubbing of the materials because it is focused for sliding wear, right? So the amount of sliding velocity is also given in the diagram. So this is nothing but the wear map for soft carbon steels. So in that, what you can understand is the map here can be divided into regions corresponding to which type of wear it is. Corresponding to different wear regions, you have different regions, and these are bounded by the contact pressure as well as the sliding speed, because in the x-axis you have sliding speed and in the y-axis you have the contact pressure. So based on contact pressure and the sliding speed, the wear which is coming into picture is categorized into different regions. So now we have to understand and approach these regions, what's happening. Okay, so here you can see the pressure is along y and the speed is along x, and you have different regions of wear which has been mapped. So one is called as an Caesar, which comes into picture suddenly, accidentally. In between exactly we have the oxidation surface, which is a very mild oxidation surface. So that comes into picture when the sliding speed is exactly equal to 1 meter per second, and this is 10 to the power of minus 2, and this is 10 to the power of minus 4, and this is for 100 meter per second. So at the initiation of the positive sliding motion, it results in causing the mild oxidation film. So this is the region where mild oxidation wear comes into picture. So at the lower value of the sliding motion and the lower value of the pressure applied across the contact, usually we'll be having a very mild wear. So this region is associated with very mild wear. So as the speed increases, the sliding speed and the pressure across the contact increases, the mild wear reaches into the region mild plastic wear. So mild plastic wear is associated with some pressure below 10 to the power of, this is 10 to the power of minus 5, and this is 10 to the power of minus 3, and this is 10 to the power of minus 1. So when you have the pressure above, below 10 to the power of minus 3, then you can see that it is in the transition range. So transition range will help you in changing the transition from one region to that of the other. So it is a mild plastic wear and it is a severe plastic wear. Once it crosses the pressure of 10 to the power of minus 3, then the wear which is there in the material is very severe. So you cannot overcome that and reuse that mechanical component. It will be totally a scrap. So always you should see that the pressure which is subjected to that this soft carbon steel is always below 10 to the power of minus 3. So then it is safer because it is within the mild plastic wear which could be overcome, and it can use the component for an little long period of time. So always you should be able to identify which is the pressure at which the severe plastic wear comes, which is the safer zone and which is not safer zone. And this was related to the pressure range. And similarly, with respect to the speed, we have different ranges. So once it causes 1 meter per second, it results in the mild oxidation range, right? So after a particular higher speed, right, so it results in severe oxidation wear. So it is the initiation where the oxidation starts, and the severe oxidation will cross after some value here of mild related to the sliding speed. So this will result in the severe oxidation wear. So this severe oxidation wear will not melt until the pressure value of 10 to the power of -2, I guess. So once the pressure value is also about 10 to the power of -2 and the speed is also nearly to 50 meter per second, then it results in the formation of melting. Then the material gets melted. So it is a wear region for melting state. So this is a very end stage of the mechanical component where it cannot be no longer used and the material will be totally scrapped. So this is just to explain the wear map for a particular mechanical component. In this, it is just taken an example for soft carbon steel. Similarly, the wear of any type of metal could be read and analyzed. Once you have this type of data for each material, it will be very safe to see that which is the speed with which you can subject the mechanical component to slide and which is the pressure that particular material can withstand so that it won't go for the plastic wear and it will be within the safer zone so that you can run the mechanical component and get the required output until its life cycle is there. So if you won't consider these properties while designing and using the component, easily the material gets weared out and it becomes a scrap. So all these things have to be kept in mind while selecting the material, the size and dimension of the component, and which are the range in which you can subject it for sliding motion, which is the amount of pressure that it can bear across the contact area, so that you can keep the material within the safer zone and run it for a longer period of time. So this is about the wear of metals. So related to wear of ceramics, I will do it in the next class. Hope it is clear for you all today's delamination theory and wear associated with the metals. Any doubt, you are free to ask. Any doubts? Is that clear? Kindly please respond. Hello. Are you people there? Chaitanya? Ishant? Okay, mic problem. Fine. Sagar Datta? Varun, you're there? Kindly do response. Yeah, you are putting the message. What's the problem with your mic? I have posted the quiz related to today's class. So after the class, within the lunch break, within the scheduled time, you see that you submit your quiz. So now all of you kindly do answer the attendance. I'll just start calling your name. Akhil KV.
Ma'am, 001 Abdul.
Yeah, your name is at the end. I'm sorry, it was filled up with 003, but I remember your name. In BIMS also I have added it, so don't worry. Akhil KV. Okay. Anil Kumar.
Present, ma'am.
Anil Kumar absent. Ankesh Aman. Present. Then please answer, no? Ankesh Aman.
Yes, ma'am.
Gautam Krishna. Gautam Krishna absent. Balaji VR. Balaji VR absent. Beldar Mohammed.
Present, ma'am.
Chaitanya.
Present, ma'am.
Chetan Kumar. Okay. Dheeraj. Dheeraj. Absent. Ishant. Okay. Harshit S.
Present, ma'am.
Himanka.
Present, ma'am.
Kanishka Reddy. Kanishka Reddy. Absent. Nagamurli Krishna. Nagamurli Krishna. Okay. Kunal Raj.
Present, ma'am.
Danush. Mohammad Ayan. Mohammad Ayan. Absent. Mohammad Junaid. Mohammad Junaid. Sri Prasad.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In the meantime, everyone write your name and USN in the chat room. Don't forget. Niharika.
Present, ma'am.
Nihar Venkat Sai.
Yes, ma'am.
Nikhilar.
Yes, ma'am.
Nirab.
Yes, ma'am.
Prajwal is not there. Okay. Prajwal S. Bhatt.
Present, ma'am.
Prajwal. Okay. Rishabh Pandey.
Present, ma'am.
Rohan. Rohan Kaglakar. Roshan Yadav. Roshan Yadav. Suman Sagar.
Present, ma'am.
Sagar Dutt Mathur.
Present, ma'am.
Sagar GV.
Present,
Sagar,
ma'am.
yeah. Sanjay Raghav.
Present, ma'am.
Shobit. Shobit.
Present, ma'am.
Okay. Siddharth. Both the Siddharth are there. Siddharth B and Siddharth Sridhar.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Subramanya.
Present, ma'am.
Tirumana Sethi Rohan.
Yes, ma'am.
Ulas.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Present.
Yeah. Vidyan Prakash.
Present, ma'am.
Varun.
Present, ma'am.
Pavan.
Present, ma'am.
Danush.
Present, ma'am.
Dhyanesh.
Yes, ma'am.
Gunasagar.
Present, ma'am.
Meghanatha.
Present, ma'am.
Rasik Baran. Rasik Baran. Shiva Krishna.
Yes, ma'am.
Shiva
Yes, ma'am.
Krishna.
Yes, ma'am.
Shreyas. Yeah. Srinivasalu.
Yes, ma'am.
Yogananda. Yogananda. Absent. Kiranar.
Yes, ma'am.
Ranveer Singh Chauhan. Absent. Gautam Sai.
Present, ma'am.
Gautam. Yeah. Abdul Khalik Pasha. I
Yes,
think you
ma'am. Present,
answered
ma'am.
me. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
Shiv Pavan. Shiv Pavan is absent. Alok M.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So please attend the classes regularly. Take the quiz, submit it, and assignments are posted with due dates. Both the modules, assignment 1 and 2. See that you submit before the due date. I think for one it is on Saturday, and for second assignment it's on Sunday. See that you do submit. If you have a blue book, you can use a common blue book for all the assignments, or else you can use A4 sheets, write it, scan properly, and upload in the GCR on time. Okay. So take care. Have a nice day. Until we meet on the next class. Bye-bye.